Wilberforce was a man born into privilege, small in stature, soft in voice, yet moved by a conscience that shook an empire. William Wilberforce did not set out to become the voice of a moral revolution. He was a rising politician, wealthy, witty, and admired in the social circles of 18th century Britain. But one encounter changed everything. When he saw the chains of slavery, not as a distant commerce, but as a human catastrophe, his comfortable world collapsed. He wrote that God had set before him two great objects, the suppression of the slave trade and the reformation of manners. From that moment, his life became a battle against the most powerful economic system of his age. For nearly 20 years, Wilberforce introduced bills to abolish the slave trade, and each year they were defeated. Parliament laughed, merchants threatened, even friends warned him that taking on slavery was political suicide. But he refused to give up. He said, "We can no longer plead ignorance. We cannot turn away." Outside the halls of power, the abolition movement grew. Former slaves like Olaudah Equiano and freed African Christians like Ottobah Kugano gave voice to the horrors that Wilberforce fought to end. Artists, pastors, and writers joined him. It was a movement of conscience, not conquest, a moral uprising built on truth. In 1807, after countless defeats and sleepless nights, the House of Commons finally voted to abolish the British slave trade. The chamber erupted in applause as men who once opposed him rose to honor his perseverance. Yet Wilberforce knew the work was not over. The trade was gone, but slavery itself still lived across the empire. He continued to campaign for abolition until his health failed. And then, on July 26, 1833, just 3 days before his death, news reached him that Parliament had passed the Slavery Abolition Act, freeing more than 800,000 men, women, and children across the British colonies. The race he had run was finally won. Wilberforce never sought fame, he sought faithfulness. His story reminds us that moral victories are not achieved in a moment, but through endurance, prayer, and unwavering conviction. He showed that even one voice, armed with truth and compassion, can bend the arc of history. And now his legacy lives on, not in the pages of politics, but in the conscience of humanity. Visit the Museum of Truth Hall of Honor to see how we remember William Wilberforce, the man who proved that the power of righteousness can defeat the prophets of oppression. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Beyond the Veil. I hope it gave you something to think about, something that will bring you closer to the truth. And I'd love for you to be a part of this journey. Make sure you subscribe, share this video with a friend, and leave a comment to let me know what stood out to you. Together we can bring more light to the world. See you next time.